welcome. I'm Emily the Fine Art Medium. I'm a psychic medium who specializes in the paranormal. I have a degree in social deviance, and so today we are going to be talking about the murder case, that was carried out by a witch and a demon. That took place in Palm Springs in 2009. And this case isn't too long. It's actually pretty short, only because of the amount of information that is out on the internet. There's not that much. But it's still worth talking about.
Whisper in the night dark, footsteps in the backyard, shadows dance on stained walls, blood rust every nightfall. Fear grips like chains tied, chasing you in moonlight. Eyes gleam with twisted glee, no escape from me.
And so we're just going to jump into it. I don't have any clips because there's literally nothing on this, just some court documents. And of course, I will have the sources down below. And yeah, so let's talk about like the general gist of this case. So in November 2009, a bizarre murder occurred in Palm Springs, California. The case involved a man and a woman who claimed to be a demon and a witch, respectively. They were accused of killing a man in a condominium complex. So the brief overview of events: the victim, his name was Larry Roger Fisk. He was 57 years old and was found dead in the condo that the suspects own. Now, the suspects are Dale Farquhar. If I'm saying that wrong, you can correct me. But, yes. And he was the self-proclaimed demon and alleged shooter. And then the other suspect was his girlfriend, Kara Williams Covert, who was a self-proclaimed Satanic Witch. And so the alleged motive: prosecutors claim that Farquhar and Williams Covert had met Fisk the night before the murder and saw the killing as a script to be acted out. The Friday the 13th date held special significance for them. And then the trial. The trial was filled with dramatic testimony, as they usually are, including claims of demonic possession and occult rituals. Farquhar's defense argued that his statements about being a demon were fictional and that he did not commit the murder. Ultimately, Dale Farquhar was found guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. While the case was sensationalized due to the defendant's claims of supernatural involvement, the trial ultimately focused on the evidence presented and the legal arguments made. So let's talk about the factual background. This was in court documents, and again, the link will be down below of where you can find this information. But it says, "We draw the facts from the probation report as relied upon both parties. At 2 p.m. on November 14th, 2009, Fisk was found dead at an apartment complex located on Ashurst Court in Palm Springs. He had been shot in the back of the head. Around the same time, a person found a duffel bag containing items belonging to Fisk in the nearby desert. Defendant's name and cellular telephone number were in the bag. The police located defendant and her boyfriend, Farquhar, in another apartment at the Ashurst Court complex. Farquhar claimed that on November 13th, he had smoked the marijuana and fallen asleep. He woke up when he heard someone say, 'Don't do that.' He discovered Fisk on top of defendant. Farquhar claimed he did not recall what had happened next. Defendant told police she had met Fisk at a bar, and that one afternoon he had followed her to her apartment. He tried to kiss her outside the apartment. Defendant was frightened and told Fisk not to kiss her. Farquhar emerged from their apartment and shot Fisk in the back of the head. Defendant claimed she then blacked out. She later told the police she saw Farquhar grab a sheet from their apartment and heard him drag Fisk to another apartment. Covert drove Farquhar to another location where they disposed of Fisk's duffel bag. Now, this is what they told police. However, there are some discrepancies with their story. And so we're going to get into this article on News Channel 3 that they have. So, Friday the 13th, shooting death of an Apple Valley man in Palm Springs was part of an incomplete script being acted out by a self-professed demon and witch, a prosecutor told jurors. But Dale Farquhar's attorney argued that the script was fictional and that his client did not pull the trigger that November 13th at the Palm Springs Villas condo complex at 680 Ashurst Court. According to the prosecution, Farquhar shot 57-year-old Larry Roger Fisk in the back of the neck without warning inside the condo after the victim followed the defendant's girlfriend home. In his closing argument, Supervising District Attorney Otis Sterling said Kara Williams Covert, a self-professed witch and Satanist, had met the victim the previous night at the Village pub in Palm Springs. Farquhar, who called himself a true demon, and his girlfriend found special meaning in the Friday the 13th killing, the prosecutor told the jury. Sterling read loud the lyrics of a song he said was written in Farquhar's handwriting. Get up and kill, kill, kill. An epidemic is in Palm Springs. An epidemic is in Palm Springs. An epidemic of mass murder. Halloween of '09. The lyrics, which were found in the condo, contain the words R.I.P. Village Pub on the handwritten sketch of a headstone, Sterling said. It's not the first time two people have acted out the twisted, perverted, sick lyrics to a movie or song, Sterling said. A journal with handwritings of both Williams, Covert, and Farquhar, and an unfinished movie script found in the condo explain why the couple were in Palm Springs, according to the prosecutor. Both documents, which appear to detail the same events, indicate that in the weeks before Fisk's death, the couple tried to seduce the headliner of a local band and lure him back to their condo on Halloween, but failed to do so, Sterling said. Fisk, a motorcyclist who had stopped in Palm Springs on his way to Arizona, had no idea on the night he met her that he was being led by her to a slaughter, Sterling said. The prosecutor also pointed to several statements Farquhar made to police following the shooting as evidence that he was the triggerman. Farquhar told police they shouldn't blame his girlfriend and that he suffered from schizophrenia and transgenderism, according to the prosecutor. Deputy Public Defender Richard Verlato countered that the prosecutor was overreaching in his portrayal of Farquhar and his girlfriend. She is not a witch, he is not a demon, and this man had a very unlucky Friday, the 13th, Verlato said, while pointing to pictures of Williams Covert, Farquhar, and Fisk. At one point, the attorney turned to his client. Go ahead, conjure, Verlato said before waiting a few seconds in silence. See, he doesn't believe in this. He pointed to part of the journal that he shows the words screenplay and fictional horror to argue it was not a depiction of reality, and alleged that Williams Covert was the killer, not his client. The attorney noted a statement that Williams Covert gave to police when she blamed Farquhar for Fisk's death. She accuses Dale of killing this man outside of the apartment, a bold-faced lie because he was killed inside the apartment where blood was found under the living room carpet, the defense attorney said. A felony aiding and abetting charge was filed against William Covert in late May. So, that's all we got here. I'm pretty sure she was sentenced for, like, more than just that, though, but I didn't find any, like, other information. Yeah, so when people get pushed into a corner, they always go for the insanity plea. Always. I feel like it's always. Unless they take accountability for what they've done, and if that doesn't work, then they go to possession and so on and so forth. But I got a lot of information. Well, I shouldn't say a lot of information, but what I should say is I saw a lot of entities. So, we're going to talk about it. Notes will be on Patreon. So, one thing I don't particularly like, now this could just be in court and trials and how they conduct their, you know, their jobs and stuff, because the whole point is to either portray someone as being guilty or to portray someone as being innocent. But when you have people, just in general, it doesn't even have to be in a trial environment. It's when people quickly dismiss claims of like witchcraft or Satanism, whatever. I don't like Satanism, that's just me, but I don't like when people dismiss it like anything. It's like someone says, "Oh, I'm into collecting stamps," and then they like dismiss it. Like, that's fucking rude in my opinion, but whatever. But even though I disagree with Satanism and especially satanic witchcraft, I would still never dismiss it and treat it like it's something that doesn't exist or the person's crazy, or like, I just don't like when people have cultural beliefs or religious beliefs and then people just dismiss it. And it's part of that reaction and behavior that a lot of things go missed and unnoticed. And yeah, I also feel like in this case they were trying to make Kara or Kara, however you say her name, and Dale look like they were Delulu to help them either claim that insanity plea. I guess that's just me. But again, that could just be them trying to make them look incompetent to sway the jury a particular direction. But going to somebody and saying, "Oh, you're a witch? Okay, then go ahead and conjure. Like, do it right now." Obviously, they don't understand or grasp the concept. They don't know all the things that go into this stuff. That's like if somebody came up to me and was like, "Okay, tell me what the lottery numbers are." It's like, it doesn't work like that. But in general, I don't think witchcraft, Satanism, or any type of occult practice or religious practice or cultural practice, I don't think it should be dismissed because it doesn't fit in with some of the other popular cultures like Christianity or Catholicism or one of the main ones. It's just as legit. And like I said, I may not agree with it, but that's my path and that's their path, and it is what it is. I'm not going to sit here and convince people to why they shouldn't do a certain thing. Like, everyone has their own lessons that they got to learn. All I can do is teach, and whatever you do with the information, that's on you. I am just a resource, and everyone has their own free will to decide what they're going to do. But what I will say is, when you do get involved in dark practices, there are usually negative consequences. And right now, the suspects are dealing with some of those negative consequences. But of course, not everyone who's into Satanism or dark occult things is going to be a murder suspect. But sometimes there are negative consequences, even if it's as minimal as energy exchanges in a way that you particularly may not want, and you might be more fatigued. And sometimes it could be as drastic as becoming possessed and being a murder suspect. I mean, anything can happen. Now, when I was channeling, I kept seeing a bunch of these, like, I drew it because I don't know how else to describe it, but, these. It's some kind of, like, entity that kind of walks hunched, kind of like a gorilla, but obviously it's not a gorilla, and it's between like 4'10" and 5 feet. And it's like a grayish or almost black, but not quite black color. They're extremely creepy looking because they got the big bulgy eyes and the sharp teeth. It almost reminds me of some of the thought forms I saw with like the bulging eyes that are like, nee. The energy is very chaotic too. So I find that interesting. But I'm wondering if it's like a type of either thought form or familiar. If you see things moving around, it's not an orb, it's dog hair. Just in case you see stuffs. I was also seeing another entity that resembled the Joker, the Jared Leto version. And then some sort of openness in the relationship with the couple, whether they involve other people together, like a threesome, or the other or both are cheating on one another. But there's some kind of like openness in the relationship. And I also suspect that they may be into some kinky things, which I'm not kink shaming, but the reason I'm mentioning it is because it might come into play here. I also feel like it's like Dom stuff. I do think that satanic witchcraft makes Kara feel confident and powerful. She likes the feeling she gets from it. Again, alleged. This is all alleged. And then when you immerse yourself in this type of energy, you start to gain similar aspects like behaviors, energy, personality, traits, whatever you want to call it. Sometimes you take on those things, especially if your body is absorbing that type of energy. You have to be careful. Now, if that person is already in a lower vibration or frequency, there might not be as much of a dissonance between the energies and it might be okay. But if you use me, for example, me being with that type of energy, I would get really sick. But it all depends on the energetic vibration of the person, because depending on where they fall, certain practices might be in line with their energies and they won't have as much of a hard time than others. The entity, so there was another entity that I saw and I drew it. It's Fubaryo, and this thing is being shared between the two of them. This thing, when I was channeling, it just kept popping up. Like it didn't take much time to connect with this energy whatsoever. It was almost instant. But this sucker is creepy. His skin is black, eyes are more sunk in, sometimes has two horns on its head, sometimes it doesn't. It was showing me like instances where it had horns and then instances where it didn't. It's very sexual in nature, it's gross, and it's creepy AF. Not a fan. Its eyes are very snake-like too. Like how you have the slits. I don't like that. And because it knows I don't like when things smile at me, it was smiling at me. Based off what my guides were showing me, the way I interpret it, the incident doesn't seem to be premeditated, like the murder, the murder doesn't seem premeditated. However, I think the luring of the man from the pub, that stuff was premeditated. But I think it was more for kinky things than for murder. So I do have a question, or maybe 2 or 3. Why didn't they check for GSR? If they really wanted to know who shot the gun, did they check for GSR, aka gunshot residue, to see who shot the gun? And maybe they did. But from what I was reading in the court documents, it doesn't seem like they did. Otherwise, they wouldn't point the finger at Kara for firing the weapon. And the other question I have is, did Dale pop positive for marijuana? Sorry I'm saying it like that, but I'm saying it like that on purpose. If we knew for a fact that drugs were involved, that is very important. That is very important, at least to me. But, yeah, I want to say mind-altering substances. I feel like they were at play here. I want to know if there were any drug tests, period. If not, What's going on, Popo? Why ain't you checking for drug use? But I feel like there was some kind of substance use going on. And I also feel like, so when they brought Fisk home, I suspect that there was an argument that they all got into, which led to the unaliving of Fisk. And I suspect it might have something to do with what the couple wanted out of him. So, like, if they wanted him to perform a specific action to spice up their love life, and maybe he didn't do it. Maybe he didn't feel comfortable doing it. Maybe he saw something that he didn't like and it freaked him out. I think there was some sort of dispute. I don't think what they're claiming is true, that it was self-defense. I don't know, that's just my opinion. And then if there was drug abuse or mind-altering substances, that could make it where one or both are more easily influenced by negative energies or entities. Based off of what I was seeing entity-wise, I wouldn't be surprised if there was some influence of bad behaviors. And maybe in a panic, maybe those influences had more of a role then. But I do feel like there was some sort of influence during the death and how they reacted afterwards. It's interesting, like, they were saying in the court documents how Kara was saying how he shot him outside, but the blood stains under the carpet said otherwise. It makes me wonder if they were doing other things and he noticed. Or I do think he was killed inside the house, though, or the condo, technically. I do think there was an argument which led to the death of Mr. Fisk. So, yeah. I think the alleged assault and self-defense were just a cover to explain why they shot the victim. If it was all in self-defense, why did they try to hide the evidence? I get some people could panic, but if it was alleged SA and you were just defending yourself, I don't know, personally, I would not have tried to hide evidence, but that's just me. But I don't think they were necessarily acting out a script or a song lyric for murder purposes. Maybe sexual fantasy, but I don't think it was for murder. Most people, especially whether they're in the dark occult, they're not going to murder. Okay, they understand the repercussions when you do things like that. So most of the time, people aren't gonna murder. And I think, and then with the headstone drawing, I mean, I know so many people that are in that aesthetic. They like to dress the part. They like to, even if they want to do witchcraft things, I don't know, it's more of an aesthetic, and they like the art and stuff like that. And I think that's why he had the drawings, but I don't think it was for murder. I'm not getting that vibe whatsoever. I think they tried to spin it as a mental health problem to lessen Farquhar's accountability and sentence, but obviously it didn't work. It did not work in his favor. But I mean, other than that, that's all I feel like that was going on. I wasn't getting too much, and again, there's not much information online. You can't even really look up their psyche evaluation. But yeah, so I think there was some mental health things going on, but I think overall a lot of it had to do with drugs, influence, panic, but I don't feel like I don't think the murder was premeditated. I think just bringing home other people to spice up their love life was more likely. But yeah, guys, what do you think? Do you think the person was possessed? Do you think Kara shot the victim? Or do you think her boyfriend is who shot him? Yeah, let me know down below. But yeah, I mean, I'm going to end it here. There's not too much to talk about. And I will see you tomorrow. So peace out.
Follow me. Hunted